right, everybody, I believe we're live um, here on YouTube and also streaming to the Facebook page Lolly Doodle Studios, um, Art and Lettering. If you don't follow me on either, please follow, like, and subscribe. I am doing a little painting tonight. We're stepping away from, I have a little wood blank. I'll just show you real quick. We're stepping away from watercolor tonight. I've been playing a lot in acrylic. And with tonight's upcoming full moon, I just thought it would be fun to do a little moon canvas. So I'm just getting my paint ready and I'll show you what I'm using. Deep Midnight Blue. These are all Deco Art colors. So I'm going to use Deep Midnight Blue. And I have some ultramarine blue. I won't use a whole lot of that, but we'll have it just in case. So come on in, let me know that you're here. I may not see every single comment while I'm live, but if I do miss it, I will come back and say hi. The third color that I have is Royal Navy, and I'm just putting a bunch of these on my plate. Because this is a live. Like I said, if I miss your comments, I will come back, look at them, and answer any of your questions. I can also provide a tracer after this is over as well, because we will be brush lettering some words on top. Now, that's completely optional. And as you saw, I just added some white. So our color palette is going to be very monochromatic. So we've got the midnight blue, black, um, ultramarine blue, and royal navy. And honestly, this project is great for your old brushes. I have an old flat brush that does not look so flat anymore. I'm going to use that. We're just going to be doing a lot of texturing to make the moon. So I want to show you, and I just want to point out that you might see that little, and why is it so dark? You might see that little bit of schmutz on. It's like the glue from the sticker when you buy these wood boards. I hate that. And maybe you're supposed to paint on this side, but I like to paint on this side. I wish they would put those stickers elsewhere so they're easier to get off. The hardest part about this, well, I guess the lettering, but I will provide a tracer for you for that. Let me just peek real quick. Hey, Di, thank you for stopping and saying hi. Laurie, I see you there, girl. All right. Tracer, we can handle that. The hardest part about this for me was finding something circular to make my full moon, but I think I have it figured out, right? So I'm a big fan of just use what you got. So I'm going to use my tape roll. If I were doing this on a bigger canvas, I could get away with using a plate. Um, if you have a circle stencil, feel free to use that. If you have a great big like circle shape, use your circle shape and just paint the whole thing like the moon. I love a full moon and I cannot wait to see. I'm hoping that we're not super cloudy and then I'll be able to see the moon. So I'm just quickly, all I did was trace my moon. Now I know I'm doing a full moon painting, but I'm actually going to paint a little bit of a crescent moon just because I like that shape. But I'm not drinking, but I do have a wine glass. So I found this to do my outer circle of the moon. And if you don't want the crescent shape, then just go ahead and use your moon shape. But to do the crescent, I'm finding something with a smaller circle, which would be my wine glass, and I'm going to line it up on one edge, right? So then I'm just going to come in with my pencil and I'm going to trace around that. And when I lift it up, I get this crescent moon shape. And you can come in and erase that line. How is everyone tonight? Speaking of full moons, This one they say is supposed to be really, really, really big because it's going to be really, really, really close. So if you don't like the crescent shape, you can do this with the full on moon. And it might honestly be easier, but I think for now, I'm going to try to go ahead and do this with the crescent shape. So this is like the fun part for me. I'm just going to turn this sideways and I'm going to grab a big old brush. It doesn't have to, I'm not going to use this pouncer brush to do the background. I'm just going to pick one of my other many brushes here. This is a King's Art. I found this at my local TJ Maxx. Was a little skeptical, but I absolutely love this pack of brushes that I picked up. So basically, I'm getting all this hair. I'm just going to grab some color on my brush and I'm just going to grab a couple bits of that blue because I don't want this to be one solid shape of blue. And if it's a little too bright, right, with our night sky, I'm going to grab some black. And if you can see this, it's just very simple to paint that background. Now, you can do a complete black background. I think I actually may use, let me clean this real quick, just to do around the moon because I want to be able to come back and touch it up a little bit. I took most of the color off of my brush, but go ahead and clean it the best that you can, right? So I'm going to grab some white and some of this blue on my brush, and I just want to lighten up some of that blue. I'm not being exact, but I'm just going to take that flat brush and use the edge of it to come in around my crescent. Now you can just come right on in, guys, and do your complete round full moon. I know, I called this a full moon, but it just got me thinking, I really want to paint the moon. So, but I like the little crescent as much as I love a full moon. So I think I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to take this and go around my moon. I'm going to try to work relatively quickly and not fast. We're drier today than we have been, and my paint is going to dry faster than the last couple of days. It has taken forever. So I hope everyone is safe and sound. I know that hurricane went through Florida today. So, if you are from the Florida area, let us know that you're good. Just drop a note down there in the comments, letting us know if you're good, if you need anything. You know how it works. So I just took like that blues and mixed up a lighter blue. Okay, and we can go back and play with that. That's the thing I love about art, is you're never committed, right? When you're using acrylics, just let those stinkers dry, and you're really not committed to anything, right? So I'm just taking that blue, and if I want it darker around the edges, I'll add some black. I'm not going to do my side edges on camera just for time's sake. So when I go around my moon, I'm going to start blending that blue. That's why I said work a little bit quickly. I'm going to mist with just a slight bit of water to keep my paint somewhat damp. I'm going to grab some more of that midnight blue. And see, I'm just working that in a circular motion. And you can just keep blending that back and forth until you get a nice blend, right? So I don't know, can you guys see that? It looks really dark in my camera. Hey, Darlene. How are you? How is everybody tonight? Brenda, hi, girl. Thank you for sprinkling. Laurie's in the house. I'm so happy to see you guys. So, Darlene, you're down there in Georgia, lots of rain and wind. Well, fingers crossed that everything stays on the calm side for you guys, and you keep your power on and nothing bad happens, right? That is so scary. Now I just went in my moon, but it's all right. So I want to put some of that lighter around there. I just want to, I'm inching slowly across the desk. And this is why my manicurist just absolutely loves seeing me on the books, because my nails take a beating. You can throw some more white in here. We're just going to go around in circles. I'm going to grab some of my darker brown. It's a blue, sorry. Depending on how dark you want your night sky, use more blue than you would black. And I want this to be pretty bright. I'm second guessing myself, so I'm going to give you guys the option of telling me, should I do this as the crescent or should I do it as the full moon? Some flooding in areas. Yep. Prayers for all of you. Prayers for all of you. You know, it's that time of year. I do know some people in Florida and that have property in Florida, and they seem to have made it through pretty well, although I know that is not going to be everyone's story. Um, my daughter and I were looking at the news earlier with lots of the flooding, so just know that you are in everyone's prayers. All right, so I'm just adding some white in there to really lighten up that ring around the moon. I might add even a little bit more in some rings here, right? So I'm just using the tip of my brush, adding some rings. If it starts to dry, I love these misters. So I'll just mist my canvas a little bit. I'm going to clean my brush. I hope you guys will give this a shot. I will make a tracer available afterwards, in case you need a little extra help with the lettering part. And then again, you guys, my new brush lettering book is still available on Amazon or on my website. If you order on the website, it comes with a free brush pen. That's a little gift from me, because I can't give you the 2-day shipping that Amazon gives. But to make up for that, I do have that little freebie. So if you're interested in learning brush lettering, check it out. It's about brush lettering with a purpose. I think we all have a purpose in what we do, whether we realize it or not. So I've just added some of that really pretty. This is the ultramarine blue in here, and you see how it really brightens up that white, and then you just keep blending it. Now over here, I'm not real thrilled with the blend. I'm just going to mist it lightly and use my flat brush. Maybe I'll grab the slightest little bit of black and just kind of pull that in. I just want to get a nice pretty blend. And we will come back and add some stars when we're done. All right, this is not an exact science painting the moon, guys. Hold on, Darlene, I can't see your comment. The shop address, can I write it out? Absolutely. Give me 1 second and I'll take care of that for you. I'll set the canvas to the side for just a second and we'll write it nice and big. You guys get to see one of the journals I just painted over the weekend. I've kept one for myself. I love journals. I think I'll be adding some of those to my shop for the upcoming holidays. So I'll grab a marker. So my website is www, the typical, and it's Lolly, Lolly, Doodle, Doodle. It's a long one, I know. Studios, studios.com. And when I'm done, I'll throw a link to that in the comment section as well, Darlene. Thank you, Di. Yeah, I, for some reason, have been wanting to paint all of the flowers. I'll just show you real quick. We'll take just a tiny little break. I'm thinking ahead. So last night I was painting poinsettias. But anyhow, let's get back to our blue moon. Can you guys see that well if I turn it long ways? To me it looks cut off, but hopefully it's not cut off for you guys. Right? So anyway, this is where now I'm going to come in with a smaller brush. Just any brush will do. I like a flat because I get a flatter. I can pull my paint out straighter. I'm going to freshen up with a little bit of fresh white. And we're just going to have fun here, right? I think maybe I will just make this the full moon. We'll do a crescent moon another time. So I'm just going to take white. This is almost dry. Now, I'm just going to try to use that edge of my flat. Get your paint on your brush. Start inside and work your way to the outside. And let that outer edge of your flat brush, right? Let that outer edge give you that smooth line around the moon. So, start your paint off in the middle and then press down on that brush and let that side edge give you the straight circle. Well, as straight as you can. This really isn't straight. But it's going to get messy before it gets better. And you can just fill the whole thing in. It might take like 2 coats. So I'm putting some of my paint down in the center. And then I'm going to use the edge of my brush and just pull it slowly back to myself. And when I get that, I run out of paint, you can either flip the brush or that's your sign to get more paint. I think it's easier to pull towards myself, so I will rotate my canvas all the way around. So just so I don't get too much paint on that edge, I drop some right to the center, and then I use the edge of the flat brush to give me a crisp line, right? As crisp as you can get. So if you just let that outer edge do that, that's a great way to get like a nice crisp edge. Now I may need to go over it again, but I'm not going to stress at this point because it's going to get messy. You're welcome, Darlene. You are so welcome. If you are interested, I will just let you know, starting September 5th, which is only like 6 days away, on my Facebook page, I am hosting a masterclass, right? So what you would do is order your book. If you want to do the masterclass, I'm telling everyone, get it from Amazon. Get it from Amazon. You'll have it in 2 days, Prime. If you would like to do the masterclass, It's an extra $22, I think. That's on the website. You then get a free brush pen with that, the tracing papers, um, a piece of art from me to you. I'm trying to think. And then we're going to meet for the entire month of September in a private Facebook group and work through every single page of the book. So it's going to be fun. Like, you're not just going to get a book that's going to sit on your shelf. If you join the masterclass and meet us in the private Facebook page group, you're actually going to work through that book, right? Because if you're like me, you're a visual learner, you need to see it to do it. Okay. I don't need a perfectly white surface of the moon, because this is where the fun comes in. At least I find it fun. So I've got my nice little moon in there. And the lighting is just driving me insane. Let me say, I'm missing comments. Hi, Laurie. Go ahead, get over there, sign up for masterclass. If you can do it before Friday, I can get your pen out to you. And hopefully, the sooner you get signed up, the sooner I can get your pen and stuff out to you. But if you want to do the masterclass, grab your book off of Amazon. You'll have it in Prime shipping 2 days. Then I will send you the packet for masterclass and get you in the private group. That way, you'll at least have your book in hand, and then I'm going to have everyone's stuff shipped out before Friday in hopes that they get it in time. So I'll put a little extra towards shipping. But that way, everyone is set up at least with their book to get started. When we first start, you won't need the brush pen just yet. So that helps. But sign up for that master class as soon as you can. And I will get you, if you go to the website, Laurie. Hold on here. Got my little notes. Skip past the notes. Go to the website, lollydoodlestudios.com. Scroll down. The masterclass information is right on the first page of the website. You don't have to go hunting for it, but I'll also drop a link in here as well. So, all right, we've got our moon, and now we're going to pick up that nasty old brush that is probably 30 years old here, right? If you have an old brush, use it. I know they sell things like scruffy brushes. I do have one of those as well, but I want to use something that probably every painter already has. A ruined old paintbrush that's not good for much of anything, except for pouncing. So I'm just going to dampen the brush in some fresh water, and then I'm going to dry it. I just don't want to go in with a dry brush because we're going to get a little messy. We're going to get a little messy. Let's see if I can do this. Can you guys see my colors? Most of them. So this is white. We're going to use a whole heck of a lot of white. I just want to make sure I have a lot of white in my moon, right? And I'm just stippling or pouncing, which means I'm using that brush to just pounce up and down. Then I'm going to pick a color in here. I don't want to go bright, so I'm going to stick with my darker blue. I may not want quite that much, but this is where the fun comes in. You know, when you look at the moon, as bright as it is, you can see, the man on the moon, the face, the typical man on the moon face. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here with that blue, and I'm just going to pounce some of that around here and there. Not the whole thing, just here and there. Perfect. I'm going to grab my paper towel now and pull a lot of that blue back off. This is just play, right? So if my white, there's another hair. I'm losing my hair, guys. I'm going to use that brush. I just wiped it off. It's still got some blue on it. And I'm just going to keep, you could use a sponge, like if you have a sea sponge. Just be careful around your edges, right? So I'm just going to keep pouncing that blue in a bit and softening it up. I'm going to come and grab some more white, and I'm going to go back over the white. I'm going to go over the blue with the white, and there's no exact science. There's no right or wrong, and I did go outside of my line a little bit, but it's fine. Now, if it gets too much of a muddied mess, I'm just going to go carefully around my edges, as carefully as I can. If it gets too muddled and you're just getting one shade, clean your brush off, dry it off on the paper towel. We're going to fix those edges, but do your best to try to keep it within the line. I'm going to take that flat brush now and just maybe those top few bristles, I'm just going to tap into my black paint, right? Very little bit of black paint. And then I'm going to come in here again. This paint is still wet. I'm just going to add some of that black, and I'm just going to keep moving it around and softening it. And I'm going to twist my brush around. I don't want every pounce to look the same. If you remember back when sponge painting was popular, you could tell if someone took that sponge and just went like this all the way across the wall. The trick to doing that was moving your hand and moving the sponge all around. Same with this, same with the moon. Now I'm cleaning my brush, and I'm just going to pull as much water out of it as I can. All right. And I'm just going to keep coming in here and softening this black up. I want it a little darker in some spots than others. So we've got the mix of the blue, and I can grab some more white to lighten up. And I'm just going to pick certain areas, and you can really get in there thick. But this is just like, this is not technical. There's no fancy brushwork at this point. And see how I'm rotating that brush around. But that's fine. That's just going to be one of my little stars, right? So we want to break up some of this black and just see that I'm rotating the brush in my hand, leaving some of the black, some of the white. What do you guys think so far? Are you going to give this a shot? And are you going to go out and watch that full moon tonight? I can't wait to see it. I don't think that it is going to technically be blue. I'm almost positive that it's not going to be blue, but I'm sure it's going to be big and pretty, right? So you just keep playing with this, and if you want, you can let that dry, and then you can come back in with more white and hit it and lighten it up at certain spots and parts. Okay, but my blue is all dry now. You can take like a liner brush or a pointed round, come in and soften up those edges, but I'm going to give it a few minutes to dry up just a little bit. Actually, maybe I'm gonna dry this real quick. So if you guys can hold on tight just for a sec. Coming back, guys, coming back. So you'll see now that it's dry. I mean, it's better, but paint dries darker. So I would technically want to go in with a little bit more white at this point. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then we will just dry again before we get to the lettering part. So let me just add another layer of white, and I just want to give it some interest. I don't want it flat white. I don't want it all black, but I want it a little bit brighter than that, right? So I'm just going to go in, and I might take the brush softly and just sort of blend. I'm just using very light pressure on the brush and just trying to soften that up a bit. But it's just playing till you get it to where you want it to be, right? So technically, we are going to paint brush letter tonight, but I'll show you the saying that we are going to paint on paper first. And then that way, when you get, if you want the tracer you can use to practice your brush, the markers. Markers slightly vary a little bit from actually doing it with a paintbrush. I actually find it easier. But imagine this is our square of wood and this is our moon, right? So I am going to write, we're going to write I love, Love. I will give you a tracer if you want one. I love you. And then I'm going to just, I'm going to switch to like a print, I think. I might change that by the time we get to the canvas. To the, doing it quickly. What do you think? Should it all be brush lettered? I'm kind of leaning towards wanting it to be brush lettered. To the moon, and then we're going to do a fancy little and we'll center it better once we get over here. To the moon and back. And we can add an exclamation point or not. Okay, but that's basically what we're going to do. So that kind of helps me with placement when I then move over onto the actual painting. Okay, now this is why I say in masterclass, the first couple days, you don't even need a fancy brush pen because we're going to work on foundations of lettering and getting your lettering to look the way you want it to look. And all you need for that is a pencil, a pen. When I letter onto my painted surfaces, I like to use a chalk marker. So this is just a general charcoal white. And I'll go ahead. So I know I want my eye. And I don't know how I want to do my eye. So we'll just do a very simple eye. And I'm sorry, it's going to sound like chalk on a chalkboard. So if you hate that sound, plug your ears for a minute. I like the charcoal because if I mess this up, right, I can come in with some water and wipe it right away. No foul, no harm. So I'm just going to place that there. And then we're going to do I love. All right. You. Maybe that placement is good. I'm going to skip over the moon just for a minute. It's still a little damp. I love you. To the moon. And then we're going to do our fancy little and sign here. Moon and B A C. Okay. All right. So we'll start with that. We'll do the moon part afterwards because I want this to dry a little bit. But I hope I'm making everyone understand why the number one thing to improve your lettering is to be able to make and shape your letters with a regular old pencil. That's the number one thing. And then practice number two, right? So I love you to the moon and back. Now we're going to need some white. I love these little, here's just a little tip. I buy these little condiment containers from the Dollar Tree. And I use these to keep my paint in when I'm lettering. So I'm going to use the Deco Art White. And I don't put a lot of paint in, because the longer it sits out in the air, the thicker it gets. And when you paint, brush, letter, consistency of the paint is important. You don't want it so thin that it's running all over the place. And because we are doing on wood, wood has grain. And if your paint is too thin, it will seep into the grain and you will get these lines that run across. That's just a little tip. Now, let me find my brush. I've got all my little brushes over here, and I want to use a small round. I don't know where I put it. Let me just grab, all right, this one will work. This is just a round brush, a size 0, Craft Smart from Michaels, right? I'm going to wet it, pull it back to the point, and I'm just going to dip it here and grab a good bit of white. Now, I'm a lefty letterer, as most of you know. I am going to work from this side back, and then down here I'll do it the right way, just so you can see. This is my little hack. It works for me. Let's see. I'll try to keep my hand out of the way too. So you place the brush, pull it back towards yourself. I'm pressing a little bit. I'm going to lift up, and this is my little cheat. I then pull my thinner line back and meet them, right? So we'll just work our way through that. My thicker lines is just pressure on that paintbrush, just like with the markers. And my thinner lines is less pressure. And with the paintbrush, I do stay on the tip of the brush. That's just a little tip. So I'll just continue this. So thin, where I know it would be a thin line, even though I'm pulling everything back the same way, I'm going to keep that thin. Now, you could do this all in one thickness. If you do not feel comfortable using a paintbrush to do your lettering at this point, that's fine. You know, you can use like a Posca marker, and you'll get the same darn result. I just love using the brush for some reason, and I will choose the brush 99% of the time over the marker. So I'm just going to continue putting my lettering in the same way. Everywhere that would be a thin upward stroke, I'm just keeping it thin, even though I'm pulling it all back one way. And that would be a thicker stroke. This would be technically an upstroke. That's why I said it might be a little bit confusing, but if you know your downstrokes are thick, your upstrokes are thin, you can then cheat like the artists that we are, ladies, right? So I'm just going to finish lettering this up. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Feel free to leave them in the comments. I will check them. If you have any trouble finding info on the masterclass, or if you're watching this at a later date, it's fine. On the replay, the book is available on the website with a free brush pen. So that's lollydoodlestudios.com. All right. So I love you. And it just kind of pops off of that dark blue background. All right. So when I do these, it's going to be the same thing. When I pull upwards with a paintbrush, it's a little more difficult, which is why I just use that trick where I pull everything back towards myself. So that's a downstroke. I'm going to press a little bit harder on the paintbrush, and I hope you can see that without my hand in the way. So a thin, and then I'll just transition that into the thick. Are you guys able to see okay? That's like really important to me, but I know sometimes with the overhead camera angle, you don't get the best view of the lettering. So it's the same way if you're doing your words from left to right like normal people. Just wherever my thin strokes would be, I'm keeping them thin. You can always fix, but if you're not comfortable with the brush, don't let that stop you from trying. Just go get yourself a Posca paint pen, or Sharpie puts out nice pens, paint pens. I think even Michael's has their own brand. So we're just going to finish that up. Sorry for the noise. I have it, it's sitting on my camera tripod, so it's not flat. Try to keep this centered. This style of lettering, where I can combine it with my art and do like cute quotes, is, if you can tell, my happy place. Like I could do this all day, guys, all day. So let's see. Let's finish up that last one. Now I'm a lefty. This is a lefty problem. I'm going to tilt this. Now if I come in here with my hand and set my hand down, you know what's going to happen. I've just kind of learned to use the ball of my palm, this heel of my palm, to keep my hand lifted. And to do that, really honestly, it's just practice. If not, I will run my hand through that paint every single time. But the best way to build that control, whether you're doing this with a paintbrush or with markers, is practice, 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 and building what's called muscle memory, right? So it's just not natural to hold your hand up like this and write. But I have some really great forearm muscles. They're about the only muscles on my body that are in good shape, right? And that's because of this lettering. I just think it's hysterical. So Chihuahua's going to act up. I'm going to go let him out. Please forgive me. We're live. Things happen. Come on, Bo. When we go live from home, that kind of stuff happens. I really do apologize for that, but it is just part of life when you paint from home and go live. So that part is done. I'm going to leave that white. If you'll give me another quick second, I want to shoot this with the dryer and dry it. Then we'll do the inside of the moon. We're going to do that in a different color. Let's look outside. We have a cotton candy sky again. We are dusk here right now, and it's the most gorgeous shades of pink, blue, and purple. Um, Looks like cotton candy in the sky. So I dried this pretty well. Hopefully it's dry enough that I won't drag my hand through it, right? But in here now, I want to put it's the I love you to the moon and back. So I'm going to do that part with a pencil because my white chalk is not going to show up on there. But I'm just going to sketch that out with my pencil. I might come out of the moon a little bit just for some interest. Two. And if you've been following me for any length of time, you know these pencil lines are usually just suggestions to the, and I want to do a pretty big, exaggerated M, O, O, and my N will exaggerate a little bit. Now, I could do this in a shade of blue. I could do this in black. What do you guys think? Let's do this. Thumbs up if you're watching on Facebook. Thumbs up for blue and a heart for black, right? If you're watching here on YouTube, just drop me a comment. Let me know. Blue or black. I'll give you a couple seconds and see what you guys think. All right. My brain is telling me to do it black. So I hope that's what you guys were thinking as well. So I'll just switch and get a new cup. I've also been known, like, if I don't have these, I'll take the top off of a water bottle. It's just the perfect little container for a little bit of paint. I do not like using the lids of my caps turned upside down because, like I said, it's that whole drying of the acrylic paint. Oh, so you guys are in agreement. We're going black. We are going to do the lettering in black. And I wish I could tell you that there's a different trick, but it's not. It's the same. We're just using a different color. So I am that lefty. I will start over here at the end of too much paint. I'm not, I am a paint snob. I will say that. But I have just found, for the most part, and you will hear other people say differently, I will spend the money for the deco art or the golden fluid paints any day because they're almost always golden fluid is a little thin for lettering on the wood. It will bleed. But deco art hasn't failed me yet on being the perfect consistency. So I'm making this a little bit thicker and see how I'm going to bring that thin line down. And then I'm just going to tap the transition right on in there where you transition from the thick to the thin. This will be a thin one. We'll just fix that. Right, so it's the same thing. All your thin areas, which would typically be an upward stroke, we're going to keep thin. The thick ones, I'm pushing down on that paintbrush and just giving it time to meet up with my hand. Oh, no, that looks a little wonky, but it's fine, right? So those pencil marks are just suggestions for me. Sometimes the paintbrush wants to do differently. Sometimes it just doesn't look quite right. Yeah, I'll get you a tracer. Oops, that way too much paint. I will get you a tracer with these letters ready, just in case you want to paint your full moon. So, let's see. All right. So we're going to bring that T down. don't like where I put the crossover, so I'm just going to move it. The tip of this brush is spreading just a little bit, but I think we'll be able to make it through. If you do take the master class, we're going to touch base on this in there as well, the paint brush lettering. So yeah, you can get by with these Craft Smart brushes. I'm just going to clean it and try to bring it back to that tip again. Start fresh. It was just fraying a little bit, spreading, and I'm not getting that thin line that I wanted, but we're going to work with it. I hope you guys can't hear my dog barking now to get back in, but he is going to have to wait till we finish our moon. Right, so my O's, this would be an upstroke. Oh, water, too much water. Disaster averted. Let's blot that little dot off. Those little dots with the water, I can fix that with the white paint afterward. But the water, too much water in the acrylic, if you're painting on wood, it will just find its way into the grain of the wood, and the next thing you know, you've got like a bleeding mess of paint there. Okay, so let me connect that transition. What do you guys think of this? Do you like it? Do you think it's something that you would try? I hope so. Even if you don't feel comfortable with the brush for the lettering, use a Sharpie for goodness sake. But look how easy to create something so pretty. This is just, I love this saying as an adult, but I know like this is something that I would happily give to someone for a baby shower gift or to hang in a child's room. So I love you to the moon and back. And to me, that white almost looks like it's glowing. Now the fun part, I can go in. I won't bore you because I know this has been going for a little while. I can come in now with a nice thin liner, and I can really straighten up the edges of the moon. Bobo's getting on Lexi's nerves, my daughter. And you can just straighten up those edges of your moon, right? Very simple, very easy. So I'm going to grab, hopefully this is clean. Remember our old scruffy brush. I want it loaded with lots of water. Not like soaking, sopping wet, but I'm then going to dip it in my white. You guys have probably done this before. You can use a toothbrush. Many ways of doing this. I just want some water, and I just want to mix that. Make it really thin and inky. And then you can use this, hold it up high, and just tap it down on your hand, right? And we are creating the little specks of stars. If you use a toothbrush, you could just run your finger across. So we've got some nice little dots of the stars. Now to finish this up, I would paint my edges if you use like a wood blank like this. But feel free to try this on paper. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you, Laurie. Thank you, Di. Hey, Sister Michelle, my girl. Thank you all for catching me, whether you call me on or Facebook. If you are watching on Facebook, the tutorial will be up on till Friday. After Friday, you'll come over to YouTube to rewatch it, and it will always be here. But I will get you a link to be able to get a hold of a tracer. Guys, go out and see that moon, and remember, do what brings you joy. Painting is that thing for me, and know that I love you all to the moon and back. Have a great night, and we will be back next week with another tutorial.